So conditional statements and deductive reasoning. In a conditional statement, there's two parts. There's an if such and such, that's called the I can't remember what it's called, and then such and such. So we usually call the what comes after the word if, we call that P, and then what comes after the word then we call that Q. So down at the bottom here, you can see where I wrote these. So if, this is how we say this, if P then Q, so if that's true, then not Q um, to not P. So P then not Q then not P will be true. If P then Q and P is true, then Q is true. If P then Q and Q then R, then what's true is P then R. Okay. So let's look at this. If I am in my first period class and Justin heard the radio. So the true statement, I am in my first period class. So this is like the second one. If P then Q and P is true, then Q is true. So what must also be true is Justin heard the radio. So if that is Gina's favorite joke, then the river's overflowing. So since they're only giving us a conditional statement, then we're looking at the first rule. So we're saying if P then Q is true, then not Q, then not P is true. So now we're going to say not, if the river is not overflowing, then that was not Gina's favorite joke. There we go. And then here, if Latoya prefers black to red, then I like the poem. If I like the poem, then the passports are missing. This is like the last rule. So we put the beginning of the first and the ending of the last. So what will also be true is if Latoya prefers black to red, then the passports are missing. There we go. So they're giving us one of each of those rules. P.S. Please subscribe to my channel, like any videos are helpful, and let me know in the comments if this has been helpful to you. So now they're giving us, so see how they have true statement, true statement. So they're giving us two if-then statements. This is the last rule. If our instructor hates to fly, then the wall's been painted. If the wall's been painted, then Laura is calling a timeout. So since they're giving us two conditional statements, the second part of the first one matches the first part of the second one, then we put the first part of the first one with the second part of the second one. So we say, if our instructor hates to fly, then Laura is calling a timeout. So we put like the P with the R. So that's what our last rule says, P then R. Okay, if Linda likes the milkshake, then the play is a success. So when it's just a conditional statement, then we do the negation of the second part with the negation of the first part. So we say if the play was not a success, then Linda does not like the milkshake. So if the play is not a success, then Linda does not like the milkshake. So if they just give us a conditional statement and say it's true, then we negate both parts of it and switch them. So if the tires are old, then Ivana knows how to dance. The tires are old. Then we know Ivana knows how to dance. Let's do one more. If Kevin heard the radio, then I am in my first period class. If I am in my first period class, see how that second part matches the first part? So then what's also true is the first part of the first one has to go with the second part of the second one. So we say, if Kevin heard the radio, then the dog has a wounded leg. This is only a conditional statement. If I like the poem, then Miguel prefers black to red. So now we negate them both and switch them. So Miguel does not prefer black to red, then I did not like the poem. So we negate them and then switch. If the window's above the door, they give us that the first part is true, then the second part, it means the second part is true. Then Lena's cousin is a girl. That's the end of the lesson.